YouTube, what is going on? Welcome to the latest episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. As always, a quick thank you to, you know it, the best damn community here on YouTube. Appreciate you checking out the new video and for all the amazing support. So YouTubers get notifications when someone posts on their videos, and I got one the other day that gave me a pretty good laugh. It was in a Silver Eagle video from around 6 months ago that I did, where I said my preference for government-backed silver at the time was Canadian maples. Well, our wayward commenter had this to say, quote, "According to what I see, you know nothing about proper silver stacking. Stick with the Silver Eagles and stop being cheap," unquote. You gotta love it. So in response, I feel the need to post this to remind that commenter of what proper silver stacking is.
Stacker's creed: to stack as much silver and gold at the lowest cost possible, while avoiding the temptation of overpriced premium and collectible stuff.
Yep, that's the basic mantra of silver stacking, folks, adding weight at the lowest cost. Now, in half of my defense, I did list the pros of buying Silver Eagles in that video, but I advocated that my government-backed stacker of choice was the Canadian maple due to price factor. I'm not going to go over all the reasons I preferred over the Eagle, but I posted a link in the description of this video if you'd like to check out the video in question.
Here's the story.
Now, all that being said, it is nobody's business to tell others how to stack. None. Most of you who are familiar with me know that I encourage a variety within your stack, but I also respect those who are bottom line stackers and stick to the mantra of lowest cost possible. Just like I respect those who only prefer the government-backed stuff like Eagles and whatnot. Everybody does what they want to do, right? That's what makes the beauty of stacking. We all buy what we want to buy. There really isn't a right or wrong way to stack as long as you love what you're stacking, right? And you understand the ramifications of each type of silver you're buying. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, simply put, not all silver is created equal when you're buying it from dealers or shops. But again, I do believe in and encourage variety from the 4 basic silver groups. And we're going to go over those really quickly. We can break them down like this. Number 1, generic silver, the plus. It's the cheapest way to add silver weight to our stack, usually in rounds and bars. The minus, it's likely going to sell at spot or back of spot when you go to unload it. But if the price of silver is above your dollar cost average when you decide to sell, then hey, that's not really going to be a factor, right? As long as you also keep in mind the loss of buying power of the dollar over the time period from when you bought it to when you sold it. Now, example, if you paid $6 for a generic silver round back in the 80s, that doesn't mean you're going to make a $44 profit if you sold your silver at $50 an ounce at present. You have to do the other factors. You have to consider other factors before determining your true gain. Number 2, government-backed silver. These are your Eagles, Maples, Britannias, Krugs, Phils, so on and so on. And when we say government-backed, that simply means the issuing government is guaranteeing the silver purity of their bullion. Now the plus, they all enjoy liquidity all over the world and have excellent reputations, especially the Eagles and Maples. I'd also add Libertads into that category, but they're a little bit different. The minus, well, there are actually 2 notable minuses for government-backed. And the first part, obviously, is the higher premiums. Second part is the blatant counterfeit issue for a lot of these, especially the Silver Eagles. They're in the top 5 of most counterfeited coins, if I recall correctly. They may even be higher than that, second only to the Morgan silver dollar. Category number 3, collectible silver. You guys all know these. This is the type of silver we buy when we're bored with stacking the same old over the years. The only difference for me personally is that I held off on this stuff until I got my base stack established and hit my initial weight goal. It was pretty much at that point that I started adding the collectible stuff. Now, the plus for these, well, they usually have fantastic themes and they hit us all in the feels, which makes us want to buy them. New A in general seems to have the best licenses, and the New Zealand Mint really knocks that stuff out of the park for New A. Some really outstanding licenses. But the minus, what appeals to you might not appeal to others when you try to sell them. You could lose money in the end. And if the world goes topsy-turvy, not one person is going to care that you have Darth Vader 1-ounce silver coins that you spent $100 a piece on.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this.
Well, despite Vader's warning, silver will be silver at that point, and you'll never recover your premiums. But if the end is near, silver might be astronomically high in price or insanely low because people are fighting for food, water, ammo, eggs. We've all seen the price of eggs lately, big point of contention. They may not be accepting metals. They may not want them. We just don't know how the world would react to a true SHTF scenario. But we can look at Venezuela as a potential example. When their bolivar hit hyperinflation status and became pretty much worthless, a decent part of that country did actually turn to silver and gold as a means of barter for goods and services. So there is definitely a history of this occurring. We've seen it before. Could we see it again? And the last category, US 90% silver, or constitutional, or junk silver, however you like to refer to it. Personally, I don't care for the junk silver term, so I typically just call it 90%. Anyway, the pluses for 90% silver. Number one, they're affordable fractional silver, and in my opinion, the best fractional silver out there. That's just, I swear by it. I just don't believe in tiny silver and those insane premiums the online dealers were charging for those prepper bags back in the day that some channels were pushing. That's just insanity, or not a good value at all. Number two, they have added numismatic value, which makes them a strong buy no matter the market. The old designs always seem to draw in a bit of a premium too. Number three, you could actually spend your 90% if you were in a huge bind, and I mean huge bind, because of the face value or denominations. They're always going to be worth at least their denominal value. Now, you'd have to be in one hell of a bind to spend your stash of 90%, but who's to say what could happen down the road, right? And lastly, 90% silver is easily liquidated. Now, I can't account for all coin shops, but I know the majority of the ones near me will definitely buy the stuff from you. But this plus also comes with a minus as well, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And those minuses are, and we'll start with the worst one. Number one, resale can be poor if you go to dealers or shops. There's a very strong possibility that you're going to get less than spot if you try to sell your 90% silver. Now, I did a video last year where I called around to some different shops in North Carolina and Virginia, and every last one of them was buying, they were buying 90%, but it was well under spot. So you have to keep that in mind. You're better off selling 90% peer-to-peer, to be quite honest. Number two, premiums can be higher on them than you'd find on regular bullion coins. It's not always the case, but there have been a lot of instances where stackers spent more than an ounce of 90% silver than they would have with a standard ounce of bullion silver. Now, it's always best to wait for the deals to come around with this stuff. But that said, keep in mind, this is important. You're not buying 90% silver for the ounces. You're buying it for the value, the potential, and a little bit of peace of mind. Number three, storage space. As you know, you 90% stackers know, this stuff takes up a lot of space, and it's heavy. This is something you have to keep in mind if you decide to stack it. And lastly, they're not 100% silver. As the term 90% implies, they're 90% silver and 10% copper. Another part of that is the fact that they're heavily circulated, often carrying the smudges of humanity's fingerprint, dirt, and oil over the decades. Alright, so we're moving toward closing this video out, but I want to go over one more thing. If you have a healthy mix of those regular categories that I just went over, it's my personal opinion that you'll be just fine. You're going to be just fine with your stack. It's okay to have a little diversity, just as much as it's okay to stack just generic, and just as it's okay if you want to buy straight up eagles. Just remember this one thing. Your strategy doesn't apply to the rest of us, okay? My strategy is not going to work for some. Your strategy is not going to work for some. It's just the way, it's a personal journey that you can figure out and only you can figure out. So, again, my only advice if I had to give it would be not to go too heavy in the collectible stuff. Buy what you like, of course, but understand the ramifications of what you're buying as well as the risk. As for our commenter, well, buddy, you just keep stacking those eagles. Just don't be shocked when you go to sell them to a dealer and you're only getting $1 or $2 above spot. It is what it is. I have a ton of silver eagles and I absolutely love them. Obviously, I'm in America. I love the American silver eagles. But I also know a good deal when I see it, and right now they're not the best deal. Okay, it is what it is. The maple right now is my go-to. Now, just last year around this time, about the same time really, I was picking up eagles for $25 each. It was insane, absolutely insane. and that was down from about $35 and up from the year before. I bought a bunch of tubes. I really stacked up on Eagles when they went down that low. But then, as you guys all know, silver shot way up, right around, I don't know, mid-2024. And that brought the premiums back for the most part, kind of. But keep a sharp eye out because you can sometimes pick them up within reason. If I see Eagles selling for only $2, maybe $3 more than generics, I'll definitely buy them. But I'd like to give a hearty thank you to our commenter. Buddy, I do appreciate the inspiration for this video. You do you, and the rest of us will do the same. All right. There you have it. So out of those 4 groups of silver I listed, what are your preferences? How much more than the others do you stack? Which is your favorite category? Which do you have the most of? Or do you just stick to the basic mantra of stacking and keep it to generics for the most part? You guys be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what your thoughts are. You guys know I love going through them, so make sure you sound off. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. You made it this far? I appreciate it, but kudos to you. I'll definitely catch up with you in the next episode. But in the meantime, oh yeah, you gotta know what's up.
What do you want to do with your life?
I want to stack.
Damn right. Get stacked. Stay safe and be well, everyone. I am out of here. You guys have a safe and fantastic week ahead. I'll see you on Wednesday night for Stackers Corner Live. Take care, everybody.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.
Oh, yes. And what was that beginning, middle, and end part again?